I think it was the president of Morehouse College had said, if there's any type of protest at our commencement address, when Joe Biden is scheduled to speak, we're just going to close it down because we don't want cops coming in here. Apparently, there was a decent number of people who stood up and turned their back, but were rather quiet about it. Here is the Morehouse College valedictorian, D'Angelo Fletcher. You can see Biden right in the bottom right of the screen.
Looking great.
Yeah. Clapping for Fletcher's call for a ceasefire.
It is my stance as a Morehouse man, nay, as a human being, to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Hear the people of this world sing the song of righteous justice. Thank you.
Biden looks like he's in pain there. But here is Biden comes up shortly after and affirms the students' right to peacefully protest. I guess he feels it costs him nothing to applaud the idea that this guy said, call for an immediate ceasefire.
And permanent, which is the key word that Biden actually doesn't agree with. Because immediate, it's like, yeah, we'll do some, like, a brief restaging and act like we care.
Well, here's Biden, and, you know, I have this theory that that Biden and the administration, as a political matter, right? I mean, I think, like, you can't have this level of unfettered, unconditional support that Biden has had through this carnage and not have some type of deep ideological reason and perhaps bigotry, frankly, that Biden harbors. But as a political matter, I suspect that the Biden administration, and you could see some reporting at this at the beginning of Israel's assault on Gaza, that the Biden people thought, like, this is going to be a good opportunity for Biden to show that he's in control and can actually make things happen and make progress in terms of foreign policy.
Whoopsie.
And, well, I suspect they still believe this. And that they think it's going to happen by, what is it, late June? Is it June 20th is the debate? 27th. I think they think that's the timeline. I find it hard to believe that Benny Gantz is saying that he's going to leave the government without some consultation with the Biden administration.
Absolutely.
And the fact that he said 3 weeks puts it into early June, I don't know. But here is Biden sort of implying that too.
But also know, some of you ask, what is democracy? We can't stop wars that break out and break our hearts. In a democracy, we debate and dissent about America's role in the world. I want to say this very clearly. I support peaceful, nonviolent protest. Your voices should be heard, and I promise you I hear them. I determined to make my administration look like America. I have more African Americans in high places, including on the court, than any president in American history, because I need the input. What's happening in Gaza and Israel is heartbreaking. Hamas's vicious attack on Israel, killing innocent lives and holding people hostage. I was there 9 days after. Sent pictures of tying a mother and a daughter in a rope, pouring kerosene on them, burning them, and watching as they died. Innocent Palestinians caught in the middle of all this. Men, women, and children killed or displaced in desperate need of water, food, and medicine. It's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's why I've called for an immediate ceasefire. An immediate ceasefire to stop the fighting. Bring the hostages home. And I've been working on a deal as we speak I'm working around the clock to lead an international effort to get more aid into Gaza, rebuild Gaza. I'm also working around the clock for more than just one ceasefire. I'm working to bring the region together. I'm working to build a lasting, durable peace.
Over the head of the Palestinians.
The question is, and you see what's going on in Israel today, what after? What after Hamas? What happens then? What happens in Gaza? What rights do the Palestinian people have? I'm working to make sure we finally get a two-state solution, the only solution.
Nope.
For two people to live in peace, security and dignity. This is one of the hardest, most complicated problems in the world, and there's nothing easy about it. I know it angers and frustrates many of you, including my family.
Oh, cool. I don't really care.
Come on, Hunter. Push the button, Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, his wife is reportedly upset with him, and that's why you see like some celebrity videos, like Alana Glazer, who's a wonderful comedian, who did this video saying, "Jill, please, like, think of the mothers in Gaza for Mother's Day and things like that, and talk to your husband," because I mean, his arrogance about this is astounding to me. The arrogance of like, we can impose whatever government we want onto the Palestinian people, and there is never any conversation about what do they want. What do they want? Because they don't deserve rights, apparently.
It's funny coming on the heels of him like
talking
extolling
about
democracy.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, and even with this stuff with Israel, right? Like, I mean, I want Netanyahu out of power, but it's still the United States trying to put its fingers on the scales in this situation, which is probably for the best. But the reality is that U.S. dominance over this region needs to sunset. And I thought that he understood that with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. But without the United States' backing for Israel, they would actually have to engage with the partners in the region in a way that isn't entirely arrogant and belligerent. It is U.S. support for Israel that is continuing this carnage and this instability.
That's why he won't say permanent, because they actually do just want to do this through the iron wall, as Avi Shlaim's book has outlined it. That's the only way it's through force and might and not diplomacy. And that's why Biden will say immediate ceasefire, because look, yeah, this is hurting my poll numbers. But as far as a permanent ceasefire, no, they will always object to that because they think this is solved through force.
And and the only way that Israel maintains itself in this way is through force too, which is what a two-state solution is an extension of, by the way. It is racial segregation, and it is not actually feasible in any way. That is part of why the Oslo Accords failed, is because there is no just solution. There's no actually like viable solution to this that doesn't involve land back, that doesn't involve Palestinians being able, or I should say right to return. The right to return to live inside of Israel, outside, like along, not along the borders that were created in 1967, where there can be full integration. So I want, like, honestly, there needs to be progressives in Congress who begin to lead the conversation in this manner and talk about the Nakba. I would love to, if Biden does he even acknowledge it, I would love for there to be leaders in Congress who say, no, the two-state solution is just more racism and just more segregation and apartheid.
Or to the extent that it's in play, you object to it every time. Like every time
well,
brings it up.
That's what I was going to say. Even if we accept his logic, there's an easy way. Like, why does the birth of a Palestinian state, and I'm talking in the context of Joe Biden's sort of like professed desire, why does Israel get a veto over this? Like, if you want a two-state solution, Joe Biden, there is a very, very important step that you can take that would be probably as important as anything in terms of bringing it about, and that would be not to stay in, not to veto UN recognition of Palestinian statehood. I mean, and to imply or to even to argue that the UN, I hope people understand like the problem in saying like, well, the UN can't be in charge of creating a state. I've got some very bad news for you.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
I have this fantasy in my head that I, for some reason, get to interview Joe Biden, and I basically ask him about the Nakba.
That is a weird fantasy. It's
a weird fantasy. Well, I'm a sicko, but I would love for someone to ask him this question, like, President Biden, do you acknowledge how the state of Israel was formed? Do you acknowledge the historical event of the Nakba? Because I'm seeing like
It's really complicated.
The Arab League told him to get out of there.
Really complicated.
Said, hit the road, Jack.
I'd be curious about how that question is answered, because I think that there is literal widespread atrocity denial around.
That's how it would be answered. It would be boilerplate, like there was a war. But also, he legit almost explicitly said, "I've got black faces in high places" at Morehouse. Like he said, I got more diversity in high places than anywhere else. Like, yeah, man, that doesn't really matter. Karine Jean-Pierre can do genocide denial from the White House spokesperson platform as much as she wants. Like, that's actually not people's problem.
No. Actually, it's even more perverse than that, because whether it's deploying a really cynical tactic, whether it's Linda I forget her full last name, Thomas Greenfield, the UN ambassador, he's actually deploying black faces to be at the front lines of his support for genocide, in the same way that, by the way, the Bush administration put Colin Powell out there to support the illegal invasion of Iraq. So it's just amazing to me that in 2024, after all of that, we have a Democratic president whose foreign policy is like extremely neocon oriented, and is quite like a backslide into what I thought that we had done away with after the disastrous Iraq war.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.